Hello everybody, I'm Lisa Fleet. I'm here today at the Savvy Wedding Social Do-It-Yourself Bride event. Today I'll be talking about photography and connecting with so many brides on such a wonderful opportunity and experience to learn different things. So I'll be talking about the different trends in photography. I'll be talking about the importance of certain things within passing on to your photographer and connecting and working with them, and just making sure you find a photographer that's a good fit. So join us and check out all of the wonderful things that we're doing here today, and hope you guys enjoy. Hello everybody! I know it's a rainy day out, right? So, I'm here to talk to you today, of course, about photography. I just wanted to point out a few different things for you. But I just wanted to give you a little background on myself. I have been a photographer for over 8 years. The last 5 years, I've been a full-time professional photographer. I love it. It is the best job for me. It's the best job for me, and I love it. I love it tremendously. As far as my name, Lisa Fleet, I'm mainly known for my boudoir photography, my sexy lingerie style photography, but I also do weddings. So some people are surprised, but it all ties in together. All of those things tie in together. As far as weddings, we do anywhere from 10 to 12 weddings a year. We don't do too many. I don't want to overwhelm myself because I do have other areas of photography that I do specialize in as well. But I also like to think of it as quality over quantity. So I don't want to overwhelm myself to a point where I cannot provide the adequate services for my clients and do a return on products and different things for them that they need. I'll shout out my associate, one of my associate photographers that works with me on almost every event, Sydney Jackson over there, SidJacks Photography. He also works with me, and he's doing video of me today. So I wanted to just start off, and this is what I tell anyone, that any brides, any future brides that I connect with, advice that was given to me when I was in the planning stages of my wedding, is to stay in that moment. If you are at the altar, don't focus on, okay, what happens next? Who's supposed to read the scripture? Who's supposed to, where's such and such for this? Or where's the photographer? Don't worry about those things. Stay in that moment, because that day goes by so fast. And you'll miss those moments. So stay right there throughout the whole process. And that ties into why you hire professionals. Tiffany already spoke about the planning. If you have a professional planner, you don't have to sit there and focus about certain things. You don't have to have your cell phone close by to take phone calls if something happens at the venue, because the person you've asked to help doesn't really know what you want. So those are important. As far as photography, making sure you get those details, those little things that you see. A kid doing something funny, you want to make sure that you have that photographer there that's going to capture those little moments. So when you hire professionals, with that, you don't have to worry about that. So I wanted to also say congratulations to each of you being here today. You're taking that first step to learn about what you can do as far as getting yourself to that level. Some of you are here just to learn some things, how to do it yourself, but you are here also to learn about some of the professional vendors that are going to be here as well. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is just have 3 points. 3 points, and then I can answer questions. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you ladies about is a new trend in photography. I'm biased because I love it. I'll tell you the pros and cons to this. So the new trend, I only wanted to talk about one trend. The new trend in photography is the first look. How many of you have heard of the first look? Okay. So basically what a first look is, it is an opportunity for you and your groom. Everybody's going to say, oh God, I want this. It's for you and your groom to connect before the wedding. You see all those fabulous pictures that you see in magazines, and how people have so much time and they're running across the grass, and they're laying on the grass and they're doing all these great things. It's because they do it before before the ceremony actually starts. So how a first look works, you have your groom, he can be turned away or have his back to you, and you walk towards him. You tap him on the shoulder and he turns around and he sees his bride for the first time. myself and my associate are able to capture you looking at him for that first moment and him looking at you. Now we take you away from everybody. So we just try to step away from the bridal party, anybody else who's there, so it can be a very private moment for the two of you. So, and that it's really quick. It doesn't take a long time. We get that done, and then we can move into those beautiful magazine style images that you see of the bride and groom. So we do formals. We also recommend before the wedding starts to also do the family pictures of the parents. Get all of those things out of the way. And then also the bridal party. Get all of those fun pictures. You see them jumping, running across town, somewhere at a museum, things like that. All of those things are usually done before the actual ceremony starts. Because what happens, once the ceremony starts, whether it's late or if it starts on time, you start rolling. Once your wedding's over, everybody is so happy and excited for you. They want to come and talk to you and say, I want to get a picture with you. This is the age of cell phones. So everybody wants to connect with you. It's not a bad thing, but it's just, sometimes it takes away from what you've paid quite a bit of money to get, which is a photographer. So that is the trend that I try to just push my brides into. Some brides are stuck on, I do not want him to see me until I walk down the aisle. He will still be happy to see you. He will still have that same look on his face when you walk down the aisle, because that moment in itself is emotional. When you have the music coming and you're walking down, it's still a great feeling that your groom will get the day of. So that's the one point that I wanted to bring up. I also wanted to talk about the day of timeline. And this also a lot of this ties into planners as well. The day of timeline, I always recommend when you have a photographer to at least connect and provide the photographer with the timeline 3 weeks. 3 weeks before your wedding. Why 3 weeks? Why so early? Because it gives us a time to sit down with each other within that time frame to really go over it and make sure it's realistic. And then also with the timeline, you want to prepare wiggle room for delays. Things happen. We usually like to start on time. I've had a best man, I don't know, we all left the hotel at the same time, but it took him 40 minutes to get to the wedding. We still don't know to this day where he went and what he did. But the wedding started so much later. Me personally, I would have gotten married and just said, I'll see him when I see him. But we waited 40 minutes for this best man. I have no idea where he went to. So just things like that, things happen. People are emotional day of wedding. You never know what can go on. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is more focused on you, the bride. And it's a question that I think you should really ask yourself. It's a few questions that you should ask yourself about the photographer. When you sit down and talk with a photographer, there's certain things to really ask yourself about your connection with that photographer. So I'm going to tell you about an experience I had when I was getting married. So my best friend got married a year before me. So I'm like, she has the blueprint. I don't have to do anything else. I can hire all her vendors and just keep on going. So her photographer seemed pretty great the day of. So I called him probably a couple of weeks after her wedding just to talk to him and connect with him. Oh my gosh, by the time I got off the phone with him, he stressed me. What if this doesn't happen? It was certain things that he wanted done for my wedding. This is just an initial phone call. Certain things that he wanted, and he would bring up. He brought up valid points, but it just wasn't great for that initial connection. So right there in that phone call, I knew I'm not going to take the time to meet with him because he's on a whole nother. I don't know where he was, but it was just not a good connection of all the things that he was talking about, which were normal things for a wedding, but it just overwhelmed me in that first phone call. So after you have a chance to email a potential photographer, they respond back to you, always set up a consultation and show. And if you found somebody before that consultation, just call them and let them know. But if you if you do the consultation, these are just a few questions that I think that you should really sit back and think after you've met with them. Do I feel a connection with this photographer as well as their photos? Like when I look at the photos, do I see myself in it? Do I see that this a display of what I want? Not necessarily the same portrait, but something similar. Like this is the feel, this is the look, it has the edit that I want. I can see this in black and white, I can see me in it. And are your personalities a good match? That's always a good thing because that person is going to be very close to you. It's going to be very close to you the day of. They're going to capture all of those moments. And you want to make sure that that person understands you and gets to know you. I become very close with my brides. My brides actually, sometimes the day of, look to me to answer questions because of my experience. Also, I've been a bride before. They ask me questions and certain things. I'm there through that entire process, from them getting ready to the end of the night. So you want to feel a connection and have that person there with you for that very special day. Also, am I comfortable with this person's work and communication skills? If you contact a photographer for information and it takes them 3 or 4 weeks to get back to you, then it may not be a good fit unless they're closed or on vacation or whatever's going on with that photographer. But it may make you feel uneasy, then go with that first gut. Go with that gut feeling. If you are you want to go over the contract and your photographer brushes it off, go with that gut feeling. You should be able to go through your contract line by line. It should not be tedious, or they may look at that and get upset about it, but that's your contract and you want to make sure you have everything answered. Also, just a side note with contracts, if there's something in there that you don't like, ask them to take it out, ask them to change it. If they can't and you're not comfortable with it, then it may not be a good fit for you. And the last thing is, has the photographer listened well and addressed all of my concerns? So if you ever have any issues or any concerns in the early stages, or you're telling a photographer ideas and then they tell you something different and you feel like they've forgotten things, and it's like, this is a very important day for you. They may have a lot of different weddings or a lot of different things going on, but they should be able to discuss and address things that you have already addressed with them, and this should not be taken lightly. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to talk to you about today I think are important. There are other things. I'll be here, my table's back there. If you have any questions, I'll be here all day, so you can just ask me any questions. If you have questions now, feel free. Anybody have questions? No questions? Okay. So I did want to end with a quote, and I came up with like 20 different quotes, and my husband turned every one of them down. And so he told me when I end this quote, I have to end it on a high note because I was coming down too low. So I'm going to say the quote because I like the quote, but he didn't like it this morning. So this is true to how I feel about my marriage. The happiest couples don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. So think about that when in your marriage completely. It has nothing to do with, necessarily with the photographer, but think about those things. It's just how you handle situations. You're going into something wonderful. Hopefully you're marrying your best friend. It is an awesome experience. I love marriage. I love my marriage. And I love capturing other people's marriages. So enjoy today, soak up the knowledge, ask questions, and good luck on your special days, whether you choose me or you choose another photographer. All right, thank you.
And how about a big round of applause for Lisa here?